Good morning, everyone. So thanks, Rich, for introduce myself. And it's always pressure to speak, after the James Gosling. But as a Java developer, I personally super fan of Java. So thanks to Gosling, although he's already left. Okay, so today I'm talking about the open source in Tencent, and how we're going to do and why we are following, the Apache Way. So I'm talking a little bit about myself. I have two hats. So one hat is in the community. I'm a long-term Hadoop committers, and PMC, and also I'm an Apache Software Foundation member. On the other hat, it's a company hat. I was the chair of the Tencent Open Source Alliance. This is the organization that's helping the different team of the Tencent to be to involving the open source, inside or outside of the company. The other role is kind of, I'm taking care of the big data team on the storage, compute, and data lake directions of Tencent Big Data. So here's a quick survey here. Is how many of you guys have ever heard about company Tencent? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so there are a bunch of people. So does any of you know Tencent actually offering the public cloud services? Okay, very few of them. You're breaking my heart. Anyway, so Tencent actually recognized mostly like customer-oriented company. That means we're offering a lot of services like WeChat, the QQ, that is the social network things, and also we're providing some entertaining services like international game, internet game, and also the video and the music stuff. So, but actually we also provide the public cloud offering across the world. We have more than 15 available zones across 5 continents. So back to the topic. So here we are talking here in the ApacheCon, talking about the Apache Way. I think a lot of the principles about the Apache Way that we are really respect and we really try to follow. I think one of the most important role is community over the code. That means we are more evaluate on the people and the contributors rather than the code. The code can be improved, but they have to gathering more and more smart, passionate people to join this community. I think some other roles is also important, like the charity. We have to comparing with proprietary software, we need to offering some free open source software for the public goods. I think just like we providing the WeChat, the QQs, all the software to the to the world is kind of free for public goods. And also the consensus, I think that is quite an important thing, that we don't have to using power, don't have to using the voting power, and maybe we can, through the discussion, opening discussion, to make the consensus, to achieve the things we want. So this is a roadmap for Tencent open source, how's it going? Because a long time ago, the Tencent already 21st years old, is 1 year older than Apache. So in the long journey of this company, there's no much open source genes. So in the long term, it's a closed source proprietary software is more preferred way, or it's the standard way or the default ways. But now we are moving towards the more and more open source direction, open communication direction. So basically there are 3 steps. The first step is inner source, that we make the code available across all the teams, so that all the team across the company can work together, because previously the different teams is working on their own things. Some of the things can be overlap each other without too many negotiate or collaborations. After inner source, we consolidate the resource, and we also form a lot of bigger team to do the big things and there's some technology innovation what happens there, and we bring some of the good things to the public. We make it open source, we make it available for public accessible. So that's the second stage. And this stage, we can bring all side of resource in helping to improve the code, the design, and bring more scenarios to join the projects. And through this, we can earn some more and more technology influence there. And the third step, if we want this project, open source code can be used as many as possible by the public and make the ecosystem more healthy. Then we are moving to the third step, that is open community. That means the code and project is not owned by one company, but is owned by the whole community, maybe third-party foundation like Apache. And in this way, the people from all kinds of piece of the society, even your competitors of the company can join to make the code, to make the project grown up. So that is a step. So we're moving from the first step 1 to step 3. So that is our journey and our roadmap. So yeah, along this roadmap, we do a lot of contributions. For Apache, we're platinum sponsor, and we are the first one from China. Also, yeah. So also other than this is a sponsor, we also do a lot of contributions to the projects. Like we have some committers and PMCs from like Hadoop, Spark, Flink, HBase, a lot of these projects. And also we're helping with some release effort because we have large cluster, we have application or environment can helping with these efforts. Other than the Apache foundations, the other foundations we also sponsor like Linux Foundation, OpenStack, and MariaDB. So basically the company will try to become more and more open source friendly. So we try to invest more resources into the Apache and the other foundations. Like we put more people there, we put more resources there, put more code in the project, and also to sponsor more activities of the open source. So we're also building some local community efforts for Apache projects, just like the picture shows. We're organizing Hadoop and some Spark meetup with tens or even hundreds of people to join to better promote the Apache projects. Okay, so let's narrow down a bit with big data projects with the Apache. So as we know, the Apache is very successful in holding some projects in the big data area. So I would like to say Apache is just a zookeeper. Why? Because it's managed a lot of animals, right? So Hadoop, elephant, the Hive is some bees, and also the Flink is a squirrel. Anyway, a lot of animals, in the big data ecosystem, it's with animals. So it crosses the storage to compute, to SQL, to streams, to NoSQL, to monitor, all the things about big data. You can find something in Apache. And also in all of the world, the biggest world with big data, you cannot live with the Apache projects. I think that's the good things and the great things for Apache Software Foundation is doing. Back to the Tencent, we also a big data company. We consume a lot of big data. I think every day we have trillions of records, moving into and inside, outside of Tencent. We have many largest cluster in the world, maybe more than 10,000 in the largest cluster. And so that means we need high performance clusters to processing this kind of data. So we have some world records back to year 2016 for the sorting benchmark. So Hadoop make it about 1 hour, and the Spark make it to 20 minutes, and in 2016 we make it to 1.5 minutes, with the improved Hadoop and and Spark things. So that's a performance part. Other than the performance part, we need something like data lake to handling store and loaded all the kind of data, structured, semi-structured, unstructured data. So data lake is kind of a buzzword, in the big data industry. But what is a big data lake it is? So in our understanding, it have different layers. So on the layer, it should be a storage to store where you can store all kinds of data. So HDFS, Ozone, this kind of thing can serving in this way to be a data lake storage. So the middle layers have to be data lake management. It's kind of offering the catalog service that's providing them the governance of the metadata and make the data can be accessible easily by the applications. And also the big data lake analytics helping a unified way to access data no matter where it's loaded from different engines. So here we're building data lake solutions with Apache projects. Just like this picture shows, we have Scoop, we have a TubeMQ. The TubeMQ haven't been an Apache project yet, but it's getting, like I said later, it will be handle the data moving to the data lake. And also we have HDFS, Ozone, Iceberg that can store your data into it and better and easy to access by the engines, compute engine and SQL engines. And on top of that is Spark, Hive and Livy to make sure the data can be easy accessed in different ways. And also there are some public notebook services that Zeppelin is offering, and Atlas we're helping with the metadata service and also the Airflow for job scheduling stuff. So as an instance in the cloud, so that Tencent we have Sparkling Data Warehouse that's offering this enterprise-ready data warehousing stuff. It's not like a traditional data warehouse. It can handle with all kinds of data. So that is Sparkling. So let's back to the TubeMQ. I just say it's not Apache project yet, but we're going to open source it. And it's just like another MQ project. So in Apache, we already have some Kafka, Pulsar, and other MQs, but why there's another MQ project? Actually, the TubeMQ already developed and get used in Tencent for almost 7 years. So back to time 7 years ago, there's not much too many options to make sure you have a message queue with such high throughput, such low latency can be run so stable. And back to that years, there's no much choice. So that's why we decided to develop this from the beginning, from scratch. And it has some a lot of benefits and advantages, like other than the high throughput, the low latency, it's a mesh architecture. It's good without the bottleneck from the Zookeeper, and also it's a stable operation in 7 years because a lot of design details trade-offs is based on the stable. That's a quick architecture of this. So just like a lot of message queue, they have master, we have a broker, we have consumer, we have a producer. So this heartbeat is the connection between them to make sure each component is connected, and also the data is a flow from the producer to the broker and go across the broker to the consumer. So this is similar with some other queues. But the thing is, we're getting rid of the Zookeeper in the key paths. The master itself can be have the HA mechanism, so it's much stable than Zookeeper-based solutions. Also, we support the future in the server side. That means the broker side. It doesn't have to be a client side or the consumer side. That means a lot of traffic, a lot of data is actually get filtered before they send into the consumer. And also there's many improvements for RPC and also the message store under the table, and also a lot of optimization on the load balance. So let's do a quick work to make TubeMQ go live. So far it's still a private project, and now let's make it public. Oops. I just waiting too long. Okay, so it's public now. Yeah, it's actually a very small step for my, a small click for myself, but it's a great milestone for the team. And thank you everyone for support that. Right. So here, thank you. So here's the link of that, and we plan to donation to Apache. So we already find the champions, but we still need to find experienced mentors. So if you have interest on these projects, just call, just ping us. And also we call for the contributors, users, and thanks to everyone for attentions. So open source is a long journey, maybe a lifelong journey. So we like to thank Apache, because this journey is too long. Sometimes we can be confused. We cannot see the right directions. And I think Apache Way is just like the guide that always stand on top of the mountain and show you which road it is. So thank you, Apache, personally and from the company. Thanks.